Why do I like Survivor? Let me count the ways. It shaped my childhood. It makes me remember Yulkwon from Cook Islands. Those are the rock stars of my childhood. I don't really understand yet the social politics there, but it just makes me wonder. They're like superhumans, they're like superheroes, and I want to become like them someday. It makes me want to appreciate nature, and it makes me realize that life is a great adventure. Case in point is Survivor Gabon, where they were able to spot an elephant while they were having this confessionals. That made me cry. I don't know why. I mean, I'm smiling right now, but I cried while watching it. That's just like the allure of nature. I'm just so fascinated whenever they get to a certain terra incognita or a place that is uncharted. That's the reason also why I like running, because number one, I feel like I'm a Survivor player. Number two, it makes you remember the tenacity that you have. The body that you have is larger. It's more powerful than you think it is. Whenever I run for 10 kilometers, like how can a body decide to do that, right? For 1 hour straight without water, without sometimes you get lost along the way. Your wonderful repose is nature.
Holy! Oh my God!
It's also about social politics. Like, it behooves you to ask the question: how do you start a society? How do you rule people? How do you trust these people? Okay, so those are very important things. Survivor is also a microcosm of the society. And when we say it's a microcosm of the society, it represents how we live from day to day, right? Even though it's a game, it's a simulation of life, it's a representation of nature, it's mimetic, as what Aristotle said. There are many themes in any seasons that are very prevalent. In South Pacific, for example, there are larger themes that makes you think. It's like a cult, right? It's like a religious cult. There is also one season like Blood versus Water. It is also a commentary against macho-feudal societies, the role of women, sexism, the daily social issues that we have been facing right now is actually part of Survivor. It's a masterclass in storytelling. I always tell this to my class. It has its organic unity from beginning to end, from first episode to the last episode. So it's, even if it's like non-fiction, it has the semblance of a story, that something happens to someone. It also talks about character development, the motivation, the behavior. You can also look through that. You can psychologize a character, for example. And also talks about conflicts, like for example, man versus nature. Like, how would you behave in a certain circumstance wherein you're like pitted to the ground, and when you're hungry, when you're angry, when your friend was voted off, how would you respond to that? So it's a very important study also in psychology or even in literature. As someone who is enthused on those disciplines, Survivor it didn't fail me. Needless to say, Survivor is a very essential component of my life. It's as important as toothbrush and toothpaste and my phone and my friends and my family. So I hope that I built my case and it has convinced you to watch Survivor. The first question, if you are a beginning watcher or a beginning audience of Survivor, the first question is, where should I start? Disclaimer, I will not be including seasons on Survivor that has dominant returning players like heroes versus villains, fans versus favorites in Micronesia. Although these are also important in legendary season. If you haven't watched any seasons yet, I think the first season that you're going to watch is Survivor Millennials versus Gen X. It's the 33rd season of Survivor. I think no, with my audience, who are I think Gen Z to Millennials to Gen Z, I think you can relate to this. I really like it because it's very sophisticated. It has a lot of advantages you will find along the way. And then there are a lot of blind sides. Remember blind sides? There are a lot of blind sides that will make you jump from your seat. And there are a lot of showmances, a lot of twists along the way. And then I think almost all of the players are someone you will root for. It's one of the few Survivor seasons that really made me cry. Like it's as if somebody broke my heart. But it's a bit cathartic because there's one storyline, the motivation of someone. Of course, spoiler free, but the motivation of one player there would really make you cry. I think your heart is made of stone if you will not cry on the last episode or even in the loved one's visit. Really. The theme is about generational gap. So older players versus millennials, they have different value systems and then they compete and they clash within those. So there. Second one that you should watch is Survivor Cagayan, season 28.
I'm sorry, I don't talk Lamar. I'm supposed to talk Lamar to you. You understand that better? That was the last straw that broke the camel's back.
It's set in the Philippines and they're actually divided into 3 tribes: the brains, the beauty, and the brawn. Like Survivor Millennials versus Gen X, we have great characters here. I think the characters will really make the game, right? And then it's a talk about cutthroat game, talks about betrayal, talks about manipulation that will again make you so thrilled. The challenges are so good. There are some instances in which you think that this character or this player will not win, but eventually he or she won. Yeah. I still think about it and I still get goosebumps thinking about it. The next one is Survivor China. Survivor China is a bit early. So it's like the 15th season. So what I like about Survivor China is that I would argue that this is the first modern Survivor. Because before, there are only few strategies. Your strategies just, you have to be good at camp. And then you will not be voted out. You just have to be kind with everybody. But in Survivor China, it's so good. The theme is The Art of War by Sun Tzu and the Yin and Yang. So they play over that theme. There are a lot of gameplays, there are a lot of strategies, and I think I can say that the players in Survivor China, especially the last 3 players, the finalists, are all deserving. Like I will not argue if anybody will win on the 3. So gold. It's gold. And I also like the place because it's in China, it's near the river. A lot of culture have been highlighted. Now let's go to the classic ones. Survivor Season 7 is Pearl Islands. One of my favorite. I still remember this in my childhood. It's set in Panama. And the theme is pirate. We have the Survivor legends like Sandra Diaz-Twine and Rupert Bonham. Like if you are a fan of Survivor, you would know these people because they're very legendary and they make good TV. They have great casting, and I would say that this is the most exciting first episode ever. Because on the first episode, what happened was that they were not allowed to dress up on their Survivor attire. So they were caught by surprise. They were given money and they have to sell anything, or they have to exchange their money or the currency for any essential items in the community. So again, the culture component is still there in Survivor Pearl Island. So
this is definitely a pirate adventure. Pirates pillage. Pirates steal. Pirates take advantage. If they were going to be silly enough to put it right next to me, I'm going to put it in my thing. All their trade goods, all the little women's shoes, the insoles, everything that I could find in theirs, I took.
Let's go back to the fairly recent ones. It's called Survivor David versus Goliath. So, story time again. There were parts of my life in which I wasn't able to watch Survivor because I got busy, especially in college days, and when I started teaching already. And then there's this one friend of mine, we watched Survivor Ghost Island, and I reinvigorated my liking to this season. So, shout out. But anyway, now let's have Survivor David versus Goliath. That's the 37th season. So the theme here is it's set in Fiji, just like in Survivor Millennials versus Gen X. But the theme is that they were divided into two groups of people. The first group are those who were born on a silver platter. So apparently they're rich. They're on the upper ranks of the society. They're like Goliath. And the other one are those whose odds are against them, so they have to scramble every day. They're the hustlers, if you will. So they're like Davids versus Goliath, and I like it because they really lived up to that theme all throughout the game. So it's really good. Again, the key here is the character. The characters are very, very nice, and then I hope there are many Survivor gold moments, like the negotiation for the jacket, the negotiation for the rice. That's so funny. That's unintentionally funny. And there are a lot of strategies that came into play as well. And they were so good, it will make you jump to your seat. Oh my god, I don't want to end this discussion. I just want to talk about Survivor. I want to talk about each of the season and to tell you why I like it. But that will bore you. You still have your assignments to do. You still have your exams to have. And you still have to talk to your friends right now. But I want to know, how about you? What are your favorite Survivor moments? And have you ever been a fan of Survivor? Comment down below. I want to end this by saying that really Survivor will really teach you the tenacity of human spirit, that you are larger than you are. In every breath that you have, there is still hope, and life is a one hell of a great adventure. So let's explore life together. Sorry. Tamagi ko! Sorry. Big sigh. But anyway, wait.